Okay, welcome to this wonderful, wonderful video about how to answer free response questions on the AP exam, also known as FRQs. Many of you watching this video already know a lot of the information that we're going to cover, but as we're getting closer and closer to the AP exam, I want to spend some time and just with this very quick video to make sure we're all on the same page about what we need to do, what we need to know, and then you'll have the rest of the period to do your very own practice FRQ question. So let's get started. First of all, the AP exam splits the test into two sections. Your first section is going to be 60 multiple choice questions, which will be worth 1 point each, which we'll get to very soon. You'll get a little break, and then you will have 100 minutes to answer your 4 FRQs. You'll only have 45 minutes for the multiple choice. You have 100 minutes. It's a lot of time for 4 FRQs. Essay questions, they are each worth 15 points. So the multiple choice is worth 60 points, 1 point each. The 4 essays are worth 15 points each, so you will be taking a 120-point test. They'll accumulate all of your scores together in multiple choice and the FRQ to determine what grade you got on this exam. So how do they determine your 15-point grade per essay question? Well, you start at 0. That's the thing that they made very clear in our training as teachers who prepared, took a summer institute class to get ready to teach this class and to prepare their students to take the test. You have 0 points when you start this test. Every point that you get is earned. So as you read your question, each question, you know they're worth 15 points. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to think about the things that you need to do to earn those points. So before you start writing, ask yourself how many things you have to do. If you have to do 5 things, that means you have to do 5 things that are each going to be graded by the grader. And to map that into a 15-point grade, they're going to make each one of those 5 things worth 3 points. If you do 4 of those 5 things well and succinctly and completely, you don't mess anything up, you'll get 12 out of 15 points that contribute towards your overall AP exam score, which is really, really good. If it's worth 7, as the example says down here, each thing is going to be worth 2.14 points. So if you get a 6 out of 7, that's a 12.86 out of 15. So after you've taken all 4 of your essays, they're going to add up all those raw scores into a score out of 60. They'll add it with your multiple choice score, and that will be your AP exam score, which they'll put in a bell curve to determine if you got a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on the exam. There's no half points, and that's a really tricky thing about this. I can give you guys half credit on our tests. They do not give you half credit. You either gain the whole point or you gain none of the point. And that's why being accurate and succinct is so important, and that's why knowing what each question is asking is so important. So how do you do this? Well, we've been talking about this all year. Look at the task verbs. Look at exactly what the question is asking you to do. If it tells you identify, identify. If it tells you to define, give the vocab term. If it tells you to identify and describe, that's a double whammy. It's saying that it wants you to identify something and then describe something. So that would be worth 2 points. If it says explain, demonstrate the understanding. If it says compare, now you're trying to connect 2 concepts together. So think about those verbs. Think about what exactly it's asking you to do. And that's when you can start to narrow down what your expectation is, and you can move on from there. Hopefully you don't have any questions at this point. If you do, you need to reach out to me and you need to ask. That's kind of it in 4 minutes of exactly how they're going to look at these exams, how you need to look at them, and how you need to respond. So real quick, let's do a quick test here. How many points is this worth? Take a couple of seconds as I'm reading. Tell me how many points you think this is worth. This is from 2016 test number 3 of 4. The public policy process involves interactions between Congress and the bureaucracy. A. Identify the primary role of Congress in the policy process. B. Explain how divided party control of Congress can make the policy process difficult. C. Identify the primary role of the bureaucracy in the policy process. D. Explain how one of the following increases the power of the bureaucracy in the policy process: rulemaking or bureaucratic discretion. E. Explain how each of the following enables Congress to limit the power of the bureaucracy: oversight hearings and power of the purse. Who says 5 points? Who says 6 points? Who says 7 points? Who says 8 points? Answer 6 points. Hopefully looking at this, it gives you a pretty clear idea of how many things you have to do. In A, you have to identify the role of Congress in policy. B, you have to explain how divided government could lead that to being difficult. One thing. C, you're identifying the role of bureaucracy in the policy process. D, you get to choose either rulemaking or bureaucratic discretion and tie that into bureaucracy and policy. But then E is worth 2 points because you have to do that for each of those. So you have to explain oversight hearings and how that works with Congress, and the power of the purse and how that works with Congress. If you get this question wrong, I'm going to be so upset. We know this stuff. But now that you know that it's 6 points, hopefully you can see the things that you need to do and you can go from there. So let's wrap this whole thing up. Other things to consider here. Organization is important, but I want you guys to organize your essays the way that you need to organize your essays. If you want to do it with the A and the B and the C and the D, go for it. You don't have to. If you like doing it in a paragraph format, if you want an intro and a conclusion, you can. But once again, as it says in the bottom of the slide, be concise, but make sure you justify your answer. Be focused, but also be comprehensive. Don't answer the questions in as few words as possible, but at the same time, don't ramble on and give parts of the story that aren't necessary and aren't being asked. Think about what's being asked, get to the point, give examples, as it says here in the middle. Questions cross-pollinate, meaning, as you just saw with this question, they went back and forth from Congress to policy, from policy to bureaucracy. You're going to see those kinds of what we call cross-pollination, where you're going to see different chapters and different topics and different themes in the question. Don't let that confuse you, but make sure you're focusing on your vocab. Make sure you're getting your terms, your dates, and your specifics correct, because it's all or nothing. If you do a great job explaining the Civil Rights Act, but you call it the Civil Rights Act of 1968, even though it's actually the Civil Rights Act of 1964, you get a 0 on that because you did not do it 100% correctly. So be concise, be focused, but make sure you justify your answers and you're explaining everything that you need to. And one other quick tip, there will be at least one visual, a chart, a graph, a political cartoon. Of those 4 questions, one of them will involve some kind of visual, which kind of has the answer there, right? So that's only going to help you as you are in the process of taking the test. Okay, so for the rest of this class period, I want you to do the following. You are going to get a question that references this chart. I'm going to have a bigger version of it on the board or someplace for you guys to keep an eye on. Take a look at this chart, and I want you to answer this question. This is number 2 from 2016's test. The United States is experiencing a dramatic change in the makeup of its population. These changes have political consequences for political institutions. A, identify a trend depicted in this chart. B, assuming that recent voting patterns continue, explain how the trend identified in A is likely to affect the electoral success of either the Democratic or Republican Party. C, explain how the demographic changes shown in the chart above are likely to affect the way in which parties operate in Congress. And D, describe 2 specific actions that presidents can take to respond to the demographic changes in the chart. Get a piece of lined paper, answer the question, organize it how you want, be concise, use the tools around you, think about how many things you have to do, and you'll be in great shape. Each question on the AP exam, you'll have 25 minutes to answer. 100 minutes, 4 questions, 25 minutes to answer each question. You probably won't need all 25 minutes to answer each question, but think about how much time you really have. Never rush. Take your time, brainstorm, then write, and then fix if you have to. Thank you very much for watching this video. Good luck.